Hello and welcome back to another edition of Tako Talk. My name is Stephen Tako, author of the book Motivated to Act, and I'm actually here today with Tara-Nicole. Tara is, her and her mom, they've been kind of watching me a little bit on Facebook, and they started noticing that I've been doing this show, and her mom, Jen, reached out to me and she said, hey, you know what, my daughter has a story and she'd love to share it with you. And so, you know, what I was just chatting with Tara-Nicole about is that this show is all about helping people overcome obstacles in their life. And you know, the first chapter of my book is called The Damaged Child, and it deals all with the bullying aspect that I had to deal with when I was growing up. And from some of the other adults that I've had on my show, it's typically, most people seem to be like focusing on their middle school years that are like the hardest. Yeah. Like 8th, 9th grade, you know, in those areas. And I know going through all of elementary, it was rare that I had friends. And in junior high, we actually merged them. We went from elementary to like the middle school, where a couple other elementary schools all went together. Mm-hmm. So I actually picked up a few more friends. But really, I was being bullied as well through middle school, and then it finally stopped in 9th grade. But anyway, so I just wanted to thank you again for coming onto the show, and then if you could just tell us a little bit about some of the bullying that you had to endure and how it's affected your life and how it is that you've managed to get where you're at right now, and then also tell us a little bit about what your parents think about everything.
Alright, well, first off, I want to say thank you for having me on the show. It's pretty awesome.
Sure.
And, okay, so the bullying started when I was, I think, 9, and I had just won a beauty pageant, and it was one of those beauty pageants that had, like, 60, 70, like, big pageant. And there were 2 little girls that were 9 and 10, they were my age, and they weren't that happy that I won.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't just, like, give you a hug and say, you go, sister?
No! They actually started bullying me online for 2 years. And I am super glad that I give my mom and my dad like all the passwords to my accounts, because even though I did, you know, see it and I was hurt by it, I didn't see as much of it as I might have if I hadn't, like, if my parents hadn't been like up in my accounts and looking at them all the time, and they would take screen captures and they would log the IPs, and eventually we caught them. But
now, how, if you can explain, just because I know some of the viewers out there, some of you guys are parents and your kids are going to be dealing with this or have been dealing with it and really aren't sure, you know, what to do. Now, what type of online cyberbullying? What type of online program? Where was the website? What?
It was actually my personal website, like my webpage, Tara-Nicole Azarian.com. It was my webpage that they were.
What's your website again?
Tara-Nicole Azarian.com. But
we'll go ahead and put it on the screen so you can check it out. So they were posting on your own website.
Yes, in the little chat, like,
nasty
comment section, and they were just not very kind.
It wasn't like, you know, hey, you deserve the first place.
No, that was the opposite. That was definitely the opposite of what was going on. So, you
know, sorry for interjecting, but it reminds me of the opposite of. It reminds me of Valentine's Day. When I was in 3rd grade, and I read about this in my book. When I was in 3rd grade, I got a bunch of Valentines that year. Mm-hmm. And all the Valentines, you know, the Valentines that say, you know, be my Valentine, or I love you, or you're my friend, or whatever. Mm-hmm. All my Valentines said the opposite.
Oh.
It said, don't be my Valentine, or I don't love you, or I hate you, or
I'm sorry.
Yeah, every Valentine that year.
Oh, that's so sad.
It was awful.
That's so sad.
But anyway,
Valentine's like that.
I know, you know. Actually, one of these days I'll do a whole Valentine's special, and it'll be a real tearjerker. So you need to make sure that you've got your box of Kleenex nearby. But I'll share, you know, exactly what happened. But anyway, so back to you. So they said nasty things, and you were able to quickly erase them off your website, right?
Yeah, and like I said, even though I saw some of it, I didn't see all of it until I was much older, and I asked my mom to show me some of the screen captures so I could write my film about cyberbullying called ROTFL.
Question. How old were you when this stuff was occurring? And how old were these girls that were writing on there?
Well, I won the beauty pageant when I was 9 or 10. So I was 9 or 10 when the bullying started, and the girls were 9 and 10. And it went on for 2 years.
Okay. Hold it. How many 9-year-olds have their own accounts that are able to get onto these websites unsupervised by their parents and start typing negative stuff?
Well, it's the unsupervised thing that is the problem. It's like, because, like, speaking from personal experience, you can just make an account on anything within, like, 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
but
you can just make a Gmail.
But I mean, so my kid is 18 right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I can't picture my 9-year-old sitting, being able to go into websites that I'm not supervising. I mean, okay, so I'm going to throw this out there. Do you think, now I know that there are some, in these talent shows and beauty pageants and all that stuff, there are some vicious mothers. Okay?
Yeah.
So, because I think, truthfully, I think that there are some moms that, for whatever reason, they themselves weren't the beauty queen, they didn't make it, they lived a sheltered life, and then all of a sudden now they've got their kids, and they're trying to live, like a second childhood, to do things that they didn't do. That's why some push them into acting, some push them into, karate, or whatever, these things that they never got a chance to do. And I think that, we've seen documentaries on it where some of these moms are like vicious, and like attacking each other. Do you think that there's any possibility that these 9-year-olds, even though the 9-year-old, they're probably vicious because they see how their mom, so kids tend to behave
the way that their parents
with
do.
their parents.
It's like, because as a little kid, you're always like, oh, I want to be just like mommy, or oh, I just want to be just like daddy. So you always have to take that into like effect with your parenting, because if you're being one of those moms or being one of those dads, then you have to remember that your kid looks up to you.
Yeah, they see how you're reacting. They see if your mom is bullying or being nasty to somebody.
Exactly.
Putting people down or being racist or prejudiced, in any way, then they think that that's acceptable.
Exactly, because it's like, yes, all little girls look up to Selena Gomez and all that, but they look up to their mom the most, because I speak from, when I was younger, I used to like look up to my mom like all the time, like, you're awesome, and want to be just like you kind of thing.
So is your mom awesome?
Yeah, my mom is awesome. She is like really awesome.
Okay, so getting back to my topic though, is do you think that there's any possibility that it wasn't these 9-year-olds that actually was typing it? Do you think that there's any chance that some of these vicious moms were actually in there posing or whatever, and I mean, I don't know if you guys actually went through and found out for sure that this was the person on the computer.
We actually kind of did, because when we eventually caught them is when they sent an email to my agent, and that was their biggest mistake. And my agent was just like, okay, this is not cool, we're gonna fix this like yesterday. So we
Did the mom sound apologetic? Very apologetic?
Yes, when we sort of. When we found the girls and we had them write, they were told to write thank you, or not thank you, but I'm sorry cards.
Apology.
Yeah, apology cards basically in an email. And one of the moms was like mortified. She was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know my kid was doing this, and she's grounded for like ever, and she had a birthday sleepover and that's canceled, and she like, good reaction in the circumstances, though she should have been monitoring her kid online, but
right.
Past that, it was a good reaction. The other mom, she basically said something to the effect of, well, I'm sorry you got my daughter in trouble, and sorry that my daughter's prettier than your daughter, and just started ranting like that. And
She's sorry that her daughter is prettier than you. Nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so now you had said that your parents monitor your accounts.
Yes.
So, which I think is fabulous. I don't understand, particularly just hearing your story about, 9-year-olds that were actually on there writing nasty stuff. But, I have one of my sisters, I've got 4 sisters, and I know a couple of them were saying that they don't monitor their kids' passwords. They don't know the passwords. They like one of them had a MySpace account, and her mom was like couldn't even access it or anything like that,
Really?
right? And the logic behind it was that you need to give your kids some level of freedom. You need to pick your battles and whatever. But I struggled with that. I was like, I don't think that I know that I'm not okay with that. I know that I would want complete access to my kids' stuff.
My view on it is your parents wouldn't just drag you out to a field, leave you in the field, and say, see you later. So why should they do that with the internet? Because the internet, unlike a field, you could probably eventually get out of the field and no one would know you were in the field, but the internet is forever. Like, you post one thing on the internet, even if you take it down 5 minutes later, somebody screen capped it, and there's still logs of it, like in that web browser that you were using, and whatever website you were using.
Plus, there's creepy people.
Exactly.
And there's bad things that happen.
Very creepy people on the internet.
Yeah, bad things that happen on the internet, and I think the fact that if a child says no, I'm not going to give you my password. I mean, who's in control? I mean, you've got parents, children.
Yeah, it's like parents, children.
Yeah, parents, children, right? And so it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean your daughter's not going to give you the? Well, we got to pick our battles. It's like.
Well, that's a battle to pick.
Yeah, that's a battle to win, right?
Yeah, because I get the whole freedom and everything, but just like you got to realize that your parents are your parents for a reason.
But see, you're also a good person. Right?
Well, thank you.
I mean, I can just tell, from talking to your mom, and talking to you, you're a well-adjusted person, and the fact that you're okay with your parents being, on all of your sites, looking at it, tells me that it's because you're not trying to hide something.
Yeah, it's like.
I looked at my niece's profile,
mm-hmm.
right? I looked at her, and she was like, 15 years old or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and a very provocative poses, on her thing. And
exactly, it's like there shouldn't be anything on your Facebook or your Twitter or your whatever that you wouldn't want your mom or your dad or your grandma or whoever seeing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's another like great reminder. Like if your parents or your grandma or whoever has your passwords to like check on it,
mm-hmm.
then you know that mom's gonna check on this. I shouldn't post that on Instagram.
Right. Right. How old are you now?
I'm 15 now.
15?
Yes.
Now you actually you have a music video that I watched recently. It's kind of like a short film video type of thing, right?
Yes, the short film.
Short film, yeah. I don't know why I was thinking music video, but you have a short film and you brought a copy of it with
I
us,
did.
Right?
It's called ROTFL. It's about cyberbullying, and I kind of made it more general, like being bullied at school instead of being bullied at a beauty pageant, because not everyone can relate to that. So yeah, but it's actually on YouTube if you want to check it out, because it is, kind of a cyberbullying thing.
So ROTFL, rolling on the floor laughing. So it sounds like a comedy, right? A lot of laughing going on.
Not from me, from the Mean Girls.
Words can kill. Yeah,
yes.
That part doesn't sound so funny.
No, it does not.
So, and you got 10 different awards, 11 different awards on here.
Well, how I look at it is I don't count the amount of awards I win. Like, I know the really special awards, like I know my first award, I know the really big ones, like the Telly Awards, but I don't count all of my awards, because it's like, well, what do you do with your time? You're just counting your awards. That seems kind of weird.
The good thing is that, you actually decided, and when did you do this? At what age?
I was 13 when I made this.
13. So here, you've got somebody that is out there, producing and making something out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
You were bullied, and yet you've overcome it. You're sitting there with good posture, which means that posture is actually a pretty important thing. I remember, even though my dad and I did not have a good relationship, there were certain things that I grew up always remembering, and I try to do the same thing with my son. Is I pull his shoulders back. Hey, look, Stephen, he goes, you're going to be tall, and you want to make sure that that your posture is really good. And posture says a lot about people. It tells you if you're like kind of hunched over a little bit that you're a little bit more insecure. But I've been noticing you've been sitting upright, and your shoulders are back, and you're such a very confident young lady that it's encouraging, because you hear so much garbage going on about, oh, kids are disrespectful and all this and the whole world's going to hell and everything else is bad and whatever. It's like, no, there's a lot of good kids out there in the next generation that's growing up, and they need support from their parents and their grandparents, and their friends, and just the fact that you had an idea, went ahead and put this together. How can people buy this?
Well, it's on YouTube, so they can watch it on YouTube.
Just watch it for free on
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
But I actually wanted to say something real quickly.
Sure.
I think that when it comes to cyberbullying, I think that parents should also be like, in the cyberbullies business and say like, okay, well, if you cyberbully or write mean comments or do X, Y, or Z, then you lose your phone or you lose your computer privileges, or you're grounded for a week, or just like a punishment so that they won't want to lose their phone for a month, because most kids these days are like really attached to their phone, so they won't bully anyone because they don't want to lose their phone.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it's like I wouldn't want to do that. Like if I was not an awesome kid, I wouldn't want to like lose my computer because I was cyberbullying. I would want to keep the computer. So
plus there's the whole morality of it. It's not, and I encourage everybody out there, it's not just about, taking away these privileges, which is important.
Yeah.
But it's also about spending the quality time with your kids.
Yeah.
And really explaining to them about how damaging it is, and how as a bully it makes you look bad.
It does.
It makes you, it glares to the world. When somebody's a bully, it glares to the world like, oh, look, I'm insecure. Oh, look, I'm jealous. Oh, look, I have a pretty crappy life at home, and I'm being mistreated and I'm being neglected, and I'm going to try to take it out on somebody else because somehow that makes me feel better.
Which I'm actually going to touch on that. I want to say that, like, I have a journal. Everyone can have a journal that is like, hey mom, this is my journal. Don't touch my journal. That's the one thing you don't have a password to is the journal, because my journal is on my computer.
We called it a diary. Back in my days.
I personally call it a journal because then guys can have a journal not sound like a diary, which sounds kind of girly. So
it's a good point. It's a good point. Okay.
So but like if you're having a hard time, you can write something in your journal, and nobody else will see it because it's in your journal.
Right.
The only person that'll see it is you. And I think that if you're going through like hard time and you feel like you want to bully someone, try like letting out in your journal, and it actually kind of like helps let any anger or any kind of feelings out that you want to express.
That's a really good idea.
And then it doesn't hurt anyone because it's just on a piece of paper, or it's
you get your frustration out, you write it all out there, and then I'll bet you any money once you've calmed down, you go back and you read it, and you see, ooh, wow, I don't like where I was.
Exactly.
Right there.
And then like you can think, let's not do that again.
Yeah, and you didn't do any damage to anybody else.
Exactly. Instead of, say, going out and going on the internet and telling everyone in your class, nasty things. I think having a journal is just like better than, doing the other thing, bullying.
Absolutely. Well, we have to wind down really quick and all that. I mean, what kind of encouragement do you think that your parents could offer to other parents?
Well, let's see here. For cyberbullying, I know my mom would definitely say monitor your kids all the time, because that's actually what helped me. Is she like goes on all of my accounts like 6-7 times a day to make sure that nobody's bullying me, there aren't any creepers or anything. So she was able to hide a lot of it from me. But, you know, I obviously still saw some of it because, you know, I go on my webpage.
Right.
But she was able to hide a lot of it from me until I asked her to show me some of the screens so I could write RTFL. Which, yeah, I read those and they were not nice. But I'm glad that she, you know, kind of hid them from me until I was older. Because I was like 9 or 10 at the time, and that's just not cool.
Okay.
So that's definitely what my mom would say for like cyberbullying and just neurobullying in general. It's like, I basically like tell my mom like everything. I'll tell her, oh, you know, I was just reading this whatever book, and like she'll not want to really listen about like whatever book or video game I was playing, but
right.
yeah, I'll tell her basically like everything. I'll tell her, you know, what kind of lunch I was eating for no reason. I just like talk with her with everything, and I think it's important to like talk with your kids a lot about just stuff in general, because if you know what's going on, you can help them more. You know, I'm not a parent, so obviously I don't know the exact kind of vibe, but
and I agree.
You know,
I agree that the communication out there is just so important. You know, just talk to your kids. You know, and if you're talking to your kid and your child is dealing with bullies, you know, I would say one of the best things that I could advise would be to remind your kid that to not believe things that are being said to them.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like someone can only, no one can hurt you without your consent.
Right.
Verbally, that is. I mean, someone can punch you in the face and that will definitely hurt, but yeah. I'm saying verbally.
Right, yeah, verbally, and it's like, you know, I use the analogy, you know, if you have a high self-esteem, you know, and you're not going to believe if somebody says, hey, you're ugly, you know, and it's like,
okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
It. You know, but the thing is, if you actually are thinking, gosh, maybe I am ugly, you know, oh my gosh, the world knows that I'm ugly.
Yeah.
You know, then it's like, you know,
then
that's where your parents can come in, and you can, you know, if you're a parent, you can help your kid realize that, hey, look, you know, maybe, okay, let's face it, maybe the kid does have a big nose or big ears or, you know, something, or they got pimples or braces or whatever, you know, let's face it, teenage years are tough, right? They're tough. And, I mean, you look beautiful, you know, as a 10 or 15-year-old, but, I mean, a lot of us, I went through pimples and braces and super skinny and whatever. And, you know, so the thing is, you know, hey, look, you know, you love your kids unconditionally and you let them know, you know what, you know, you're going to get your braces off, you know, or your face does clear up, you know, and, you know, and hey, you know what, you got the family nose, and look, I got the same nose, and your kids are, you know, so you embrace your differences.
Exactly.
You know, embrace who you are and just love yourself. So, anyway, listen, I gotta go, but thanks so much, you know, everybody for tuning in. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely appreciate you guys, and hope you learned something today. Take care of your kids, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Tako Talk.